Hi everyone, welcome back to We Students. Today we're going to talk about whether IB is worth it.
So within this video, we're going to talk about what IB is. We're going to compare it with other school curriculums and then decide whether we think it's worth it to take it. So what is the IB? It's a program. You're welcome. End of the video. So essentially, the IB is a high school program where over 2 years, what is called a diploma program, you take 6 subjects. 3 are taken at a higher level, 3 at a standard level. After 2 years of taking these subjects, you then go on to do the final exams, which there's usually 2 papers for standard level subjects and 3 for higher level subjects. For each class, you also have something called an internal assessment, which is an exam or something, a project that you take within your own school. For practical classes like social sciences or the sciences, you usually have a lab report or some kind of paper, whereas for language-based classes, you usually have an oral examination where you speak for about 10 minutes on a given topic.
In addition to 6 classes that we choose, we also have 3 core components. So one of the core components is theory of knowledge, TOK. No one in IB really knows what it's about. However, it's basically philosophy, and we have 2 assessments for it. It's the TOK exhibition, which is done. Is it always done in 11th?
Usually it's done in 11th grade, but some schools I know decide to do it in the beginning of the senior year.
Well, we did it in 11th grade. It's basically, what was it?
Don't explain it. I have no idea.
I think you choose 2 objects.
3 objects.
And what did you do with
Back it up, move on to the next component. You can find more online. Search it up.
And then in the first semester of 12th grade, we write the TOK essay, which is basically answering a prompt that is given by the IB. We were given 6 prompts.
Yeah.
We chose one, and then you either agree with the prompt or you don't. However, you still have to show both sides. Yeah. The second core component is extended essay, and this is my favorite one. I love this one, I don't know why. Extended essay is basically you choose a topic of interest, like anything at all.
It has to connect to a certain class.
Everything can connect to a certain class. However, if your school doesn't have that exact class, then I think you can't take it, right? Oh, it has to also connect to a class that you take. It can't just be, for example, I can't write about psychology because I don't take psychology. Yeah. Okay, so you
But
basically...
in general, no, sorry to interrupt. In general, you wouldn't be writing about an essay topic that you're not in a class for.
Yeah, because that's what you're interested in.
Yeah.
So you basically pick a topic, you write an essay about it, and that's it. I think there's just rules about different subjects. For example, I chose for art. For art, there's no rules. For example, I know that there's rules for sciences.
Yeah, I took psychology. I don't know about sciences, but I took psychology, and like one of the major rules, I guess, or like for the writing process was the fact that besides your topic, you have to find studies that agree with both sides, but also that kind of disagree or contradict it and give you possible answers for another hypothesis that like disagree with your own. So it was very hard to find something.
I think for sciences, you have to have like a full-on research paper, like methodology and stuff like that. I don't know. Check online. That's all I know.
If you need a good extended essay, if you're already an IB student and you're watching this video, Classify has very good checklists for internal assessments and for different types of extended essays. You can search up Classify, psychology, extended essay, and it gives you a full checklist for 7.
The last core component is CAS, which stands for creativity, activity, and service. Where we basically just like participate in projects outside of school. It's like extracurriculars. However, they all have to fall under either creativity,
they all have to either be something that's creative, like for example, learning an instrument or drawing activity, which is like physical gym training, anything, and then service is anything to do with volunteering and like giving back to the community.
Basically, after you do the activities, you have to write 3 reflections, which is the before, where you talk about your expectations about this activity, and then you have during, which is like how it's going, your progress, whatever, and then after you finish the activity, your reflection. And I think that's it for cats. You have to have one project and 3 activities.
It's
Count as one project as well.
Yeah, some schools do it differently. That's how it was explained to us. Other schools like to measure it by hours. So you have to have, for example, 50 of each component. So 50 hours for creativity, activity, and service. It's the same for us, but when it was broken down into like, oh, you have to have 3 activities and then 3 experiences and one project, it sounds like less. Because usually for the project, you cover like at least 20 hours.
Yeah.
And all of these core components are already kind of integrated into the pre-years of the diploma program, which is the IB MYP, the middle years program, which isn't really at all correlated with the actual DP. It's very different, although it's supposed to be like a workup to it.
It's not a word. If anything, it messes you up even more.
Yeah, true. And in general, they have, for example, the services action, which is basically for 2 years you just do volunteering, which brings you up to the CAS. But other than that, there's actually nothing else that prepares you for IB. There's a personal project, which is like a little bit compared to the extended essay, but nothing else. So when we're comparing IB in this video, we're going to be talking about A levels, AP, and the state matura for citizens of North Macedonia. Okay, so for A levels, first of all, neither myself nor Sara have actually taken them, but I have a friend who does in Hungary. And from what I know of the A levels through her, it's very different to the IB in terms of the classes. Like A levels are much more specialized, and you only take 3 or 4 classes depending on what you want to study in university. So, for example, if you're looking to get into engineering, you take, let's say, math, chemistry, and physics, for example. And then if you're doing law, you can take English, history, and psychology. Whereas in IB, even though I will never need math, I still have to take it. I will also never need to know all the works that I study for Macedonian language and literature, but I still have to take it as a class.
Which arguably is better to take them.
Yeah, but in terms of specialization, if you already know what you want to do and you have a choice between AP, no. If you already know what you want to do and you have a choice between A levels and IB, I feel like it would be better.
Better?
I feel like it would be better to take A levels.
I think it's good to have math and literature and whatever in high school, because after that you're not gonna have it anymore, and that's the time where like you can learn about those stuff, even though you're not gonna use them in your career. Because I don't think everything should be tied to your career. Even though I hate English, I don't hate English. I just hate analyzing books.
A friend that takes A levels, she's planning on going into like a political science, international relations career, and she still takes math as like her 4th subject.
No, but I'm not talking about her. Why are you taking first?
No. I'm saying like even if, for example, a student wants to do that, like if they're aware that they need it, they can. I think A levels are arguably in this sense better because of students who, like, I know students in our school, you know them as well, who aren't that bad at every subject. Like they're good in the subject they specialize in. For example, let's say they want to continue doing marketing or I don't know, business, and they have 7s in business and economics and whatever 3rd class they need for that. But then they have a bad grade in biology or chemistry or Macedonian, and that messes up their whole like IB diploma.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Getting like a 35 where all of your HLs, which are like the classes that you realistically need for your career, are 7s, and then your other things are 4, it doesn't matter to the university because when you apply, they just see that there's a 4, they don't care whether you need it that much. So in that sense, if you're looking at it strictly from like, okay, I want to go to college here and here, and this is what they require, I think it will be easier to meet the requirements with A levels than with IB.
So now we're gonna compare IB to AP. AP is, I feel like it's a mix between A levels and IB.
Yeah.
Where you just you can take the AP exams whenever you want to. You choose how many ever subjects you want. You have full freedom. You can take 5 exams in first year and then take no exams in second year and then take 10 exams in fourth year. It doesn't matter. what colleges look for from AP students is the rigor of their subjects and how many AP exams they've taken. So, like, if you wanna be accepted to a better college, you wanna take more AP exams,
And you want to get a better grade on them.
obviously.
I think AP isn't worth it compared to IB because I feel like we've both taken self-study APs, and so I took AP psychology in my second year of high school so that I can prepare for IB psychology. And I did the self-study in like a month and I got a 4. And it was extremely easy. As someone who has been in MYP, like even MYP was harder for me than AP. I think it's very easy. I also think that it's mostly recognized only in America, so like it really limits where you can send the results to any college normally, but I feel like only US places such a heavy emphasis on it. And then because it's really easy, like
I
in
think
no
in the
other.
US they prefer that though. I think they prefer APs over IB. So I think if you're gonna go to America, take AP. It's easier. It's better
Yeah.
for America, and that's that.
Yeah. In terms of time management, I think IB is way harder than AP. I think you have to juggle so many more assessments because realistically, for AP, like let's say you do really bad your whole year of high school in that class, and then you get a 5 on the subject, like on the end of the test. I mean, it's the same for IB because even if you have like a 4, then you get a 7 on your IB exam. Like,
Yeah, but you also send in predicted grades.
yeah, but I'm saying for IB, I feel like if you consistently get 4s in your year, unless it's the teacher's fault that you're so like doing so bad and they're really strict and they grade bad, there's no way you're getting a 7 in the end because like you need that consistent effort. In AP, you can learn it in 2 weeks with the College Board videos and online videos, and that's that.
And also they can retake the exams, no? Apparently.
Like next year,
Yeah.
but you can do that for IB as well.
Yeah, but they can do that within their high school career. Like we can't take the IB exams
Ah,
in
you mean
third
like
year and
yeah,
then redo them in fourth year. They can
that
take
too.
them literally. For example, for me, I struggle with physics. I would have taken physics from first year and just redone it, redo it.
We did it.
What?
English as well. She doesn't hate analyzing. She hates. Overall, my suggestion is if you're aiming for America or you're aiming in general for like an easier workload, AP is definitely the way to go. IB won't be worth it for you because it's a lot of effort and a lot of exams for someone who doesn't need them.
And if you already know what you want to major in, you should choose A levels since you only study the subjects you're good at or the subjects you're gonna need in the future. Therefore, they're gonna be objectively easier to you. And that's it. Now we're gonna talk about the Macedonian state matura.
So let's be honest, everyone knows that the state matura is something that everyone gets good grades in.
Well, not really. I think no. The state matura is kind of unpredictable, which it can be good or bad.
Let's explain it first for people who don't know. The state matura is the like exams that you take as being a part of Macedonian public high school after your 4 years of your education. It's based on the curriculum that you learn within those years, and then you choose your external and internal exams. So for external exams, you have usually 2 language classes, English and
Your
either
language.
Macedonian, Turkish, or
Albanian.
Albanian. Or you can switch it out to be math and English, I think. Or math in your native language.
Math and native.
Yeah.
Native always has to be external.
Sorry. And then for your internal exams, you choose the subjects you want to take for your internal. And then basically, the only difference is that for your internal exams, you have more time to prepare because you already know like a pool of questions that you can have. So you have some kind of question bank. And then there's around 100 questions. You can learn all of them and you see which one happens to be on your test on the day of the exam.
Which is what I plan to do. for physics.
You get them, the teachers aren't obligated to send them to you until at least 2 to 3 weeks before the actual exam. And this is something that the Union of High Schoolers did a couple of years ago back. So it's a fairly recent addition to the state matura system.
What I was saying earlier about it being unpredictable, let's be realistic, many people cheat. And like the IB, they have certain percentages of students who can have fives, fours, threes, twos, and fail. And if everyone cheats and everyone is supposed to get fives, not everyone is gonna. And it can be the good students who actually studied who are gonna actually get the worst grades, and the students who cheated and have a perfect score who are gonna get fives. And that's what I meant by it being unpredictable, because it can be very good or really, really bad. And yeah, it's also, I don't know about other countries, but for us, if you're an IB and you wanna send predicted grades from both IB and state matura, you can basically just convert your IB grades, which is very good, since a 5, a 6, and a 7 translate to a 5 in state matura, and 5 is the best grade in state matura. Which can also be bad if you go to state matura and you have all predicted 5s, and then they mess you up and give you 3s and 4s. So yeah, it's very. I think state matura is good to have as a second choice, like we have it, like I have it, because you're not taking. For people who can't take anything else other than state matura. Good luck. I don't know what to say.
I think in terms of just speaking for applying to universities, state matura is a much easier alternative for students who, for different reasons, can't afford to take IB, whether it's time, they don't want to, it's too hard, or quite literally because of money, since the exams are very expensive, especially for someone who isn't prepared to give that much amount of money for their education, which is understandable, yeah, especially if you don't want to go abroad. However, speaking from personal experience, I helped my boyfriend apply to colleges, and he has state matura, and he's predicted to get all fives because he actually has studied a lot throughout his high school career and has gotten the grades that he needs in order to be able to be predicted a five with such like 100% certainty.
And that's like equal to 45 out of 45 in IB, because he can't get anything better than that.
And he got accepted to like colleges in the same place as me, London, faster than me. Like they responded faster to him than to me. And I think that if you're a student in Macedonia who's thinking about taking the IB, my personal advice would be don't. If we talked about this a couple of days ago, if we could go back in time, I'd take the state matura. I would still go to the high school that I'm in right now, Nova, because I feel like it opened a lot of doors for me in terms of CV, and it taught me a lot about time management, working hard in high school, kind of being committed to my studies, things that I don't think are that emphasized in public schools as much as they should be. Um, but I wouldn't take the IB as a full curriculum, as a diploma. I would take it as just like my high school kind of program and then take the state matura exams, since I could get the same results if I had the strong extracurriculars that I do now. In my experience, I don't think that if I went to public high school, I would have the CV that I have now. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of projects that I've done, including the podcast. I couldn't see myself doing the podcast if I was in a public school.
Yeah. And also, it's worth mentioning that IB, even though it's really hard, it really gives you a lot of discipline. So many students who graduated from our school, they've said that like college is like really easy for them now, because not everyone has the privilege, let's say, to go to an IB school, and many colleges know that, so they make the first year, second year at least, make them easier so that everyone can be able to manage. And like I think it really helped me, like the discipline it gave me, because I know I'm gonna succeed at anything. However, I think it's a little bit unnecessary. Like it's way too hard.
Yeah. So we have a friend who recently moved to Italy, and I was talking to him a few days ago, and he said like, "Oh, IB, like I was complaining about how I have so many unnecessary assignments and summatives now when we have exams in like a month." So it was like, okay, why do I have to learn all of these new things that I'm not gonna use in my actual exams? And he was like, "Oh, you don't understand how much I'm juggling like everything now so easily compared to my classmates because of that, because of how I was taught to like handle so many things at once, like having so many things on my plate." And then also he has like classes for research, which thanks to IB, we've done a lot of it, extended essay, personal project, everything, like lab reports, generally summatives for sciences. So I feel like it does really give you an upper hand when you go to college because you're prepared for so many of these things that public school kids unfortunately aren't. And in the state Matura program, there's like the FIRTS, which is Foundations and Research component, where you write um, a sostav or a research paper and then you present it to a committee, which is basically the extended essay for us. But unfortunately, a lot of the people that are in the committee that test you for this don't really care about your project. And a lot of students do it with AI or just plagiarize it, and this doesn't get caught. So it doesn't actually teach a lot of students these components because they can just cheat their way out of it. Whereas in IB, if you try to cheat, there's no diploma for you. Is the IB too much stress and too much like risk over reward?
Bro, I hate saying yes. I think it is. Like when I think about how many easier options there are and how you can get to the same college either way, I think why even go to IB?
I would disagree slightly because I think that we only have that opinion because we've taken that.
Maybe. No, I think going to a private school whose like main focus is like going like sending their students abroad, I think that's very beneficial. Even if it's harder than like a public school, it's still very beneficial because you learn skills that public schools are not going to teach you. And sure, like I agree with that. However, taking the IB, I don't know. It could be avoided, and I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference in your life.
I think that yes, you can get into the same universities or colleges taking the state matura as you would with IB. And I agree, it's even easier to get into the same thing, like same colleges, especially within Europe with state matura. However, um, for example, like Ivy Leagues, I don't think you can get into an Ivy League with just all fives in the state matura. I don't think it's gonna look that rigorous.
Yeah, but isn't that discrimination? Not everyone has the money to. I think you can. I
I
think
think that
this
there's
one
gonna
girl
always
from.
be people who outcompete you, especially considering the fact that people who just take state matura don't have a lot of projects. Like they
Yeah,
don't
but
have the
for
CV, the
example,
extracurriculars.
on our last video, we had our college counselor, and she said that all programs are considered the same. So, like, if you get a 7 in IB and a 5 in State Natura, because that's all you can get in State Natura, I think it's considered the
Yeah, but
same.
in terms of you take CAS, so there's an extended essay. Those are two extra things that give you so many possibilities for projects,
No, yeah,
just because of
obviously,
taking
yes.
IB. So yes, you can theoretically apply to Columbia or Yale or Harvard with all fives, and you would have good standing. But there's always going to be people who outcompete you.
It depends.
I have 7 different projects just from CAST. Like I wouldn't have done them if
Yes,
it
that's
wasn't
what
for
I'm saying.
CAST.
I'm saying like in terms of only academic.
But they don't look at only academic.
I know they don't. I was talking more about the academic side, like for the grades. About the extracurriculars, I think that's based on the person. If the person
I'm
is
saying
interested in what they're doing, I think it's.
naturally you're gonna have good academic standing, but you're gonna be outcompeted in other areas that a public school and just taking state matura aren't gonna give you by themselves. You can take IB and have no other extracurriculars, like you don't go to any practices or anything, and just because of CAS, you're gonna have to have something that sets you aside from the normal.
No, but I'm not saying that's what I said. I'm not saying that like going to a public school is better than taking the IB.
I get what you're
I'm saying, imagine being in Nova and you don't take the IB. You still have the same opportunities.
But no one's gonna pay to go to Nova if you're not taking IB.
So many people in our
Because they've
generation
already came and they dropped. No one watching this video is gonna go to only Nova just to not take IB. Like
I
no
think it
normal
is worth it to go to a private school, even if you don't take IB, because it gives you so many opportunities. So, to wrap it up, if you're not going to the top 50 schools in the world, you don't really need IB. And that's that. I think either APs or state matura is better for you. And then for A levels, we already discussed. So that's
Yeah,
it.
I think it's still worth it. In my opinion, I would say that it taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't have known without the IB. And I think that it prepares you a lot mentally, even though you do suffer and you lose a lot of time and sleep for it, and a little bit of sanity. But I think that it does teach you important skills, even though, honestly, just take IB certificates.
No, I think that too.
Take
Yeah.
only 3 exams. It's basically like taking AP, but you get the knowledge of taking the whole DP. So
now that it's over, obviously we're gonna say like, oh, it teaches you this and that. But if I had to do it all over again, I would never do it. Never do it. So I think yes, it's good to take it, but it's not like you can survive without it. That's what I was trying to say. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope we informed you about the different programs, and I hope we helped you to make a decision.
okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next Sunday.